Hey all, this is 012 Boku coming at you with another movie review. It is that time again, and this time I'm going to continue my spy espionage trend, and I'm going to continue that with the sequel to Austin Powers, which is, to probably people's no surprise, Austin Powers, the spy who shagged me. A great movie that was done 2 years after the first in 1999. It basically continues the escapades of Austin Powers. It opens up with a Star Wars mock moniker sort of thing because 1999 was the bringing back of Star Wars, as everybody knew. Star Wars was the huge thing. So Jay Roach and Mike Myers and company, I believe, opened up with a Star Wars credit to explain what Dr. Evil and company were up to because once again it was that time and Star Wars is making its big pitch around. And after the opening credit scene, it cuts to astronauts working on a satellite, I believe, and then all of a sudden you have the big boy come up through the sky, which an astronaut sees as he's talking to mission control, and he says, "Oh my gentle Jesus, Houston, we have a problem." it, it's something they didn't expect. So nice little joke, and for some reason, the butt compartment of the big boy opens up, and not Austin Powers, Dr. Evil actually shoots out of it and heads back down to Earth. We then cut to Austin, who is still on his honeymoon, and it actually says in the subtitles on the bottom where we last left Austin. And he and Vanessa Kensington are still on their honeymoon, and I'm like, wow, a honeymoon for 2 years. That's interesting. What the heck have you guys been doing with your time? Obviously, from what Austin Powers shows, they were having sex with his Karma Sutra book. And it's like, right, you guys have been doing that for 2 years. You guys have had way too much free time on your hands for being secret agents and the whatnot. And as you guys probably no doubt are aware, you have Austin Powers there, as you can see on the cover, still being played by Mike Myers, and Mike Myers reprises his role as Dr. Evil as well in this movie. And at the beginning of the film, when he's finishing having sex with Vanessa, Vanessa is still played by Elizabeth Hurley in the great fashion. And what happens is, when they're done having sex, they're just having playful banter. Vanessa rewinds in her voice and says she's gonna get she's gonna get some champagne Jungle Boy twice. And Austin's a little confused, and while she's pouring her and him some champagne, she's like, "I've never felt better, Austin." And then she crushes the champagne bottle. He still doesn't know what to think of it, so he goes to watch a movie. And go figure, he's watching a movie that his movie was somewhat based on, which was already a James Bond spoof that I told you about in the first movie. He starts watching In Like Flint, and I believe it's on VHS tape because he starts to rewind the film. And while he's rewinding In Like Flint, you see Vanessa coming in and out of the bathroom, actually going in reverse, removing clothes, adding clothes. Austin sees this, wonders what's going on, starts testing things out, plays with the mute button on the remote, she doesn't talk, and then puts it in Spanish, and Vanessa's actually talking Spanish. And what happens is after that, Vanessa grabs him by the throat. He rips off a part of Vanessa's face. She's been a fembot. And, they start to go at it for a bit, and he actually mentions a thing because she actually releases machine guns from her breast, and he's like, "Machine gun jubblies, how did I miss those, baby?" And she basically replies like, "Well, perhaps next time you should try foreplay." And he actually agrees with it, before she starts shooting up the place. And miraculously, every bullet misses him. And while in all the excitement, he grabs the Swedish-made penis enlarger pump to protect him. And, well, not to protect him, but he doesn't want it getting ruined. And we learned that it was Dr. Evil who set the kamikaze bride, as he called it, on him. The eyebrows raise on the Vanessa Fembot, and Vanessa explodes. And Austin Powers, who just stood in the middle of the room without ducking or anything, is completely fine. The one thing he cares about the most is checking to see if his naughty bits and everything are still there, which they are. He goes into this quick little thing about how he loved Vanessa and how, you know, she taught him all these things, and, you know, she was a fembot all along. It's like a sad, tender moment, and then, like, all of a sudden he takes a broken part of Vanessa's hand, and he's like, well, wait a tick, that means I'm single again. Oh, behave. And he starts clapping with both of them before throwing it out. And then we have, once again, the opening credit sequence of Soul Bossa Nova being played. And then we have Austin Powers in the whole credit sequence running around the hotel naked, like getting in front of people, having like a lot of, once again, sexual jokes and a few other gratuitous things that they did a bit more than in the first movie. That's the one thing I noticed about the difference between the first movie and the second movie. The second movie sort of brought the raunchiness up a few levels, but it was still funny in a way, and the opening is really fun. Can't really complain about it, and it fits well with everything, and it still ends the same way as it did in the first movie, with a bunch of British people getting together at the hotel outside of the pool and, you know, just celebrating with Austin Powers, because Austin Powers is a heck of a guy. And let's see, I think after that it cuts back to Dr. Evil, if I'm not mistaken again, where he's in Seattle, and he's, I believe, in the Space Needle, and the Space Needle has been taken over by Starbucks, apparently. And we see how Dr. Evil's there, and we see number two, and number two's telling him that years ago they got into a Seattle-based coffee company that made, you know, great coffee at affordable prices. And, you know, I guess in a way that's true for back then. I think Starbucks has gone up now, but that's me. But it's funny how an evil empire invested in Starbucks, of all things. And, you know, Dr. Evil starts to drink Starbucks. He actually gets a lot of foam and stuff on his nose. Number two says quickly how he wants to invest into Starbucks and they can increase their findings. But Dr. Evil doesn't want to do that. He demands respect. And he says that while he's got all the crap on his nose. And number two's trying to help him out. But Dr. Evil doesn't have it. And he's like, you know, frightens number two. And, you know, he goes over to Frau Verbissina, who he asked her how things were going. And she said, oh, they're good. And she met the love of her life at the LPGA tour. And it's this, like, burly woman with a unibrow, aptly named Unibrow. And it was during that time where Frau shows Dr. Evil the cream that was on his nose, which he cleans off, and he says he meant to do that. It's called a Belgian dip, and he meant to do something like that. So, a bit of funny banter there. And what's cool is, during this time, you have, let's see, oh yeah, you have Mindy Sterling back as Frau Verbissina. You have Robert Wagner back as number two, which is awesome. He's not really in the movie a whole lot. He's only in the beginning part, which sort of sucks, but it's cool to see Robert Wagner reprise the role. And then you have Seth Green back as Scott Evil. And I forgot, there was a part right before this to where you had people at the United Nations working, and you have Michael McDonald in a cameo role where he's watching, like, terrorist events happen in a place called Kazakhstan, but because he doesn't really want to do that, he turns the monitor to Jerry Springer, to where the thing that Jerry Springer's having of the day is, my father is evil and he wants to take over the world. Okie dokie. And there's like a whole bunch of different people. There's KKK people, skinheads, other interesting people would probably be in world domination. He brings out Scott Evil, and Jerry Springer asks Scott Evil like what his father's doing, and Scott Evil gives a lowdown, and he says, at the end he's cryogenically frozen, orbiting the Earth, and then all of a sudden, you have Jerry Springer say, "Well, no, we have your father, Dr. Evil, here with us. He's here." So he comes out to everybody booing him, and he's like, "What? What?" And Scott's like shocked, and Scott Evil actually asks Dr. Evil, why did you run out on me like you did? Why did you do all that stuff? And Dr. Evil basically says, "Because you're not quite evil enough. You're semi-evil. You're quasi-evil. You're the Diet Coke of evil. Just one calorie. Not even enough." And all those good lines. And it starts a whole fight with everybody else there. And you don't think Dr. Evil would want to do this. He doesn't seem like the type of guy to fight, but he wigs out on people, starts hitting them, starts slapping them around, tossing chairs at everybody, and creating a bunch of havoc. It gets so bad that Jerry Springer wants Dr. Evil out of there, which Dr. Evil then starts attacking Jerry Springer, and like they keep hitting at each other. And at one point, I never understood it completely, but Jerry Springer's literally biting Dr. Evil in the ankle. He's like, "He's biting me. Jerry Springer's, mother effing biting me." And, it's like, was hilarious to see. And it ends with Dr. Evil going around and getting in front of the camera, holding a globe, saying, "The world is mine, the world is mine," before slamming it down on the ground. I forgot that part. That part's really hilarious and funny. And what happens is we go into the next part at the Starbucks scene. You have number 2 say they randomly, out of nowhere, without any context, decided to clone Dr. Evil, which Dr. Evil's just like, "Oh, cool. Nothing of it." And number 2 says Dr. Evil, the clone is like you in every way except 1/8 your size. And so you have Mini-Me, with the introduction of Mini-Me, played by Vern Troyer, come in. And, in the same suit, very small, same look sort of thing. And Mini-Me goes over to Dr. Evil. And Dr. Evil's so impressed with this thing. He says a funny line that me and my friends always laugh at. "Your stock is rising, number 2. And it's like, wow, you get a raise, or your stock raises just because you make Mini-Me, who's exactly like you and like a little child, and you're like so enamored by this thing." And Scott's not too thrilled with it. He's not too happy that his father, Dr. Evil, has this mini clone version of him. And he like sees all the playful banter that he and Mini-Me are getting into, and doesn't like it, seems annoyed. But then Dr. Evil goes into the next phase of his plan, and he's like, Austin Powers defeats him with Mojo. Nobody really knows what the Mojo is, and he's like, it's the life force, the essence, the good stuff, what the French call certain I don't know what. And he basically says what he's going to do is build a time machine and go back to 1969, 2 years after he was frozen, to steal Austin Powers' Mojo, which Scott aptly says, which is a smart thing, by the way. If you have a time machine, why don't you go back and kill Austin Powers when he's on the toilet? And the whole joke that starts after that is the whole zip it, where Dr. Evil's like, "Zip, zip, zip it, all right, zip it. I'm Zippy Longstockings, when a problem comes along, you must zip it good, and all those other jokes that go on with the zip it one. And it gets so bad that Mini-Me jumps up on the table, is about to kill Scott, which also furthers their bad relationship with themselves. But then it also gives way to a funny scene where Fratfordus has a water bottle and she's just squirting him like that, which like a dog, which causes Mini-Me to get down. And, so that continues. Sorry, a little tongue-tied and trying to also remember where I'm at. But you have Dr. Evil getting ready to go into the time machine, and he's about to travel back through time. He runs up to it, hits the time machine, rolls back down, and then he looks at number 2 and he's like, "Not turn on his batteries." Yeah. You think you could? Yeah. And it's like, so it turns on, and then Mini-Me and Dr. Evil go back to 1969, where they're in another base where the time machine is actually connected to. And with that time machine, he steps into his hollowed out volcano, which is what he wanted. And, he wanted that so badly, so it's you only live twice gag, basically. And what happens from there is he meets a younger number 2, who's a lot more youthful and healthy, as he says, which is played by Rob Lowe, which Rob Lowe was a very good choice to play a younger number 2, because he had the voice down for number 2. He definitely looks like a younger Robert Wagner, if you've seen Robert Wagner's earlier stuff. And everything meshed well with that. And then Frau for Business there too, but when Dr. Evil looks at her, she looks exactly the same as she did before he left, which was a nice little side gag and just great to see. And, like, they start to begin their plans with stealing Austin Powers' mojo. And what happens is they start laughing, and as they do the pan out to see Dr. Evil's island, the hollowed out volcano actually has Dr. Evil's face in it. So, subtle. A base where your face is carved into the volcano part, and, but the heroes in this film are so stupid, nobody will probably ever notice that. So then we cut to Austin Powers, who's driving in the English countryside. Basil Exposition comes in, still played by Michael York, comes in and he says, "Oh, hello, Austin, how you doing?" And Austin Powers just says, "Well, Vanessa was a fembutt." And Basil Exposition just looks somber and he's like, "Yes, we knew all along, sadly." And Austin just goes, "Huh?" Like, because if you knew all along, why didn't you try to stop it? And all that great malarkey. But then there's a scene where Basil Exposition gives Austin Powers information, and he goes and basically tries to find an assassin working for Dr. Evil, who's played by Kristen Johnson in a nice cameo named Ivana Humpalot. So continuing the hilarious name tropes, which is great. And Rebecca Romaine actually makes a good cameo in this as well, and he's doing, his funny photo shoot stuff and all being ridiculous through that. And at the end of it, you have Austin Powers wanting Kristen Johnson to come to his room so they could talk or do more stuff. And give me 1 second. I'm going to get a drink of water. Should have realized I should have put it here with me, and I didn't. So, hey, so just give me 1 sec, guys. Alright, sorry guys. Sorry about all that. I do apologize. But basically where it goes from there is Austin invites the assassin into his room. They have a playful little banter thing. The assassin with a hilarious game of chess, which is great, swallowing pieces, trying to be central with them, which Austin's failing to do. And it basically goes to where Kristen Johnson, Ivana Humpalot, says, I can't kill you because you're too sexy, you're too virile. And Austin accepts it, so they, start having sex. And then that's where we learn Dr. Evil has a spy in the Ministry of Defense watching Austin Powers while he's frozen, which it is a third role for Mike Myers to be playing. And I don't know if he's on here, but yeah, he is. He's that guy right there. I don't know if you see him, but that is his big fat character, aptly named Fat Bastard. And he's so fat, and they're trying to do, and the British intelligence and Scottish folks are trying to do their best to protect Austin Powers. And the Colonel makes fun of Fat Bastard for being fat, and Fat Bastard goes on this rant saying, oh, you're trying to have me lose weight and all that, but listen up, Sonny Jim. I ate a baby. Oh, baby, the other white meat. Baby, it's what's for dinner. And, all those hilarious lines, to which then he, puts a sleeping capsule inside his bagpipes, which somehow knocks out all the other guards except him. And, he then steals Austin Powers' mojo by drilling a hole in the ice and stealing it. And back in present time, when he's having sex with Ivana Humpalot, he loses his mojo, and then it causes Ivana Humpalot to actually look down in the sheets in a little hilarious number. And then we learn that Austin Powers is actually headed to the Ministry of Defense because Basil Exposition and his group had been informed on the situation, and they developed a time machine to track Dr. Evil. It's a bug car, which is basically, I believe, a good knock to Back to the Future, because as we know, the DeLorean, that could move and cool. And when you look at it, there could be, between the Volkswagen Beetle and the DeLorean is so much better. So nothing can pass the classics. But either way, you have Austin go back through time on, in his Volkswagen Beetle. He somehow goes from the Ministry of Defense and ends up in his house. So I guess they must have created something that could pass through space and time, but I'm nitpicking. And, when he gets back, for some reason it turned his teeth bad again, back to his 1960s form. I don't know why that happened, but oh well, time jump displacement, I guess. But while he's there at home, people are dancing, having fun in his house. There's a lot of good women there, and he's dancing with them, doing all his usual stuff. And what happens is this one assassin named Robin Swallows, maiden name Spitz, which has a Spitz or Swallows joke from Austin Powers there, played by Gia Gardenias. She comes up and tries to distract him because she's trying to set up his assassination. But along comes Austin's new girl in the form of, as you see her right there, Heather Graham, who's in this movie, who plays Felicity Shagwell. She actually goes down to intercede to tell Austin Powers what's going on. And in a way, she saves Austin Powers' life because Robin Swallows gets in his way again, and she's actually setting it up to where an assassin could stab him in the back with a knife with a throwing knife from behind. And he sees it through her eyes in the classic Goldfinger joke, and he then takes Robin Swallows, and she gets stabbed in the back, and he throws her, and she's still alive, and she's like, use the machine gun. And the assassin takes the machine gun. Austin picks up Robin Swallows again. She takes all the machine gun bullets, and he throws her again, and she's like, use the bazooka. And then all of a sudden, the other assassin fires the bazooka. Austin Powers picks up Robin Swallows again to where she gets blown up, and they both go flying through the window, and she's got the missile lodged in her stomach. She's still alive, though, and her face is all burnt and, ruined. But then, as they're falling, she's like, the fall will kill us both, Powers! And Austin Powers takes her body to use it to land on the ground that it doesn't kill him. And she's still alive, to which he says, why won't you die? And, then the assassin sees he's still living, tries to take a machine gun to shoot Austin Powers again. Austin Powers and her take off in their car, and they're basically going around and doing all their different stuff, and getting ready to fight Dr. Evil. And what happens is they're in the English countryside, And then all of a sudden, a car comes out of nowhere to follow them and is getting ready to shoot them. And it's actually Mustafa, once again played by Will Ferrell. So another great Will Ferrell cameo in this movie. And as Mustafa's trying to shoot them down, Felicity takes the gun, shoots out one of Mustafa's tires. Car goes over the cliff, crashes, but Mustafa actually comes up to the top, flying. And what ends up happening is Mustafa and Austin Powers have a little fight. Austin Powers disarms him, and then all of a sudden, they're starting to ask questions about who sent Mustafa. They ask the same question 3 times, which actually irritates Mustafa. And he answers, and they're saying, well, that was easy, and, why can't we do that? And Mustafa says, I can't stand to be asked the same question 3 times. It just irritates me. It's one of those funny little quirks, and great coming out of Will Ferrell, too. Will Ferrell does a great job of it, and, they definitely, go through, all these, weird questions and asking him, which he does answer, but then they change the answer of one of the questions to where it isn't the same question. And Mustafa goes, no, I can't ask you that time because the question you asked there was a different answer in the line of questioning for the previous one to the same line of questioning or something of that nature. And they're just trying to go through the forms with him. And then Mini-Me in a baby carriage comes out of nowhere, shoots a dart into Mustafa's neck. Mustafa goes over to the cliff, falls to the ground where Felicity and Austin have a little bit of banter, and they're into each other. But then as soon as that's done, Mustafa's still alive. He's down at the bottom of the cliff. Both his legs are up, and both his legs are broken. He's trying to ask for some help. Nobody's really helping him. He's stuck down there, and he just keeps breaking his legs over and over again. So really, really harsh, but it works for what it is, and it's funny hearing Will Ferrell come out of his stuff and say, "I'll try the other leg, okay?" Oh, and keeps falling to the ground, and just hilarious stuff. And then all of a sudden you have us going back to Dr. Evil's lair, and Dr. Evil with Mini-Me on a little bike cart for the both of them. He's like, 2 of my assassins are dead. Austin Powers is getting close. We need to fix this. And then all of a sudden they're thinking of ways. And then Fat Bastard comes into the base, shaking the base from his heaviness because they're thinking it's a volcanic eruption, but he's just walking into it. And then all of a sudden, Dr. Evil introduces everybody to Fat Bastard, and he's like, where's your crapper? I've got a turtle head poking out. I gotta use it, He's like, I got a turtle head poking out. And he's like, sure, charming. And then, he's going through all the stages of why he needs to poop. He can choke a donkey on deck with it. He's getting all emotional from it, And then he's like, oh, the crap is squinchy. And, all the gross stuff that you don't want to really hear anybody say. But what happens is Dr. Evil wants the mojo. He needs to get it from Fat Bastard. Fat Bastard wants the money. But then Mini-Me comes out of nowhere, delivers his money, and he's like, oh my god, he's tiny. I've had bigger chunks of corn in my crap. And then, he thinks Mini-Me's a baby, so he wants to trade the money and the mojo for Mini-Me. And he's like, you can keep everything, but I want your baby. And, Dr. Evil's like, okay. And then, you have Fat Bastard going, I want my baby back, baby back, baby back, baby back, ribs. I want my baby back, baby back, baby back, baby back, ribs. Chili, baby back, ribs. And all that great stuff. And after that's done, you have Dr. Evil wanting to try the mojo, which he takes a sip of it, and then he gets all entranced, wanting to do a love scene, which goes into him and Frau Forbissina having sex with each other for that one time. So, she breaks her lesbianism for just a second to have sex with Dr. Evil, and, they basically get stuff on. And then you're back with Felicity and Austin, where, you know, like Felicity's trying to woo Austin, but she can't get it because he's afraid, and he's lost his mojo, so he doesn't think he has any of the power or any of the good stuff. So he basically avoids her, which causes her to be a little upset. And then Basil Exposition and Young in Years, like how we saw him in the beginning of the first movie, comes back and sort of warns Felicity not to get involved with Austin, because it's not meant to be. And she's like, well, I know, I'm strictly professional. I'm not going to let it bother me. So where it goes from there is Basil Exposition wants Felicity to find Fat Bastard, track him down, and plant a homing device on him so they could find him. And give me a moment. I think my dog needs to use the bathroom. So, sorry, guys. Give me a sec. All right, Hawk. I see you sniffing. Once again, apologies, guys. I am back, but like after that happens, we see Felicity leave, but then we're with Austin Powers as he's driving around England. He goes to his cryogenic chamber to where he's looking at himself, saying, you used to be so many good things. You were a swinger man, and now you're nothing. And he's like, well, can't get any worse. And then cut to the scene to where Felicity's in bed with that bastard. And, he's like doing all these weird things and, trying to be all sexy, but he's all fat there in bed. And he's like got half-eaten chickens there, like a whole bunch of gross, disgusting food. And, like trying to woo her, but nothing's working for her really. And what happens is he bends over to where, his ass crack is out in bed. And she basically remembers how Basil said, put it on her, or put it on him by any means necessary. So she sticks it up his butt, basically, to where he's like, ooh, frischiare. And then, he basically, like, tries to get on her, but he basically, like, rolls right on her. And it's really hilarious to see. And you start the next day with Dr. Evil and Frau Verbissina, where they basically both say that, like they're there and, they're trying to talk to each other, but it's awkward for them and it got weird. And Frau Verbissina says, I will probably never love another man. And Dr. Evil just goes, yeah, you're right about that. That's true. And what happens is Frau Verbissina then says to Dr. Evil that I'm late. And Dr. Evil's like, well, no, you got here on time. And she's like, no, Dr. Evil, I'm late. As you guys know, pregnant, and Scott Evil comes in, and so then it's like, oh, Scott Evil was never a test tube baby. That's really Frau's and Dr. Evil's son. So interesting little twist there, and great stuff and all that. So, and like, you have Scott Evil trying to patch things up with his father. But Dr. Evil's more excited about Mini-Me, saying Scott had his chance, and once again increasing that rivalry with them. And you then cut to Felicity and Austin Powers the next day. To where Austin tells her the truth, and he says, I lost my mojo. That's why I couldn't have sex at the end. She's like, oh, I thought it was me. And, they're like fixing things. And it gets to the point to where Felicity's about to tell Austin what's going on and how everything's happening. But, how she got the tracker on Fat Bastard. Because she said she put a tracker on him. She was about to explain it. But then the tracker signal came through. Austin and Felicity go and they try to track down Fat Bastard. and they find him at Paddington Station. But when they get there, it's not that bastard. It's his poop in the toilet. And Austin and the men want to flush it down the toilet, but then Felicity's like, no, it's got to get to the lab to be analyzed. So you have a guy in a hazmat suit coming in to pick up the poop, and then all of a sudden, it's there in a little jug in a stool sample, to where they're in a science lab trying to analyze it to where that bastard is, and that would lead them to Dr. Evil. And thus, what happens is Austin is trying to pour coffee, he's bored, and what happens is he keeps getting interrupted talking to Felicity. Basil comes in trying to explain to them, that they found Dr. Evil in the Caribbean islands, where one vegetable grows there, because that's what fat bastard probably had to eat. And what happens is, during the distraction, Austin puts down the coffee pot, he picks up the jar that has the fat bastard stool sample, pours that in there instead, and he looks at the coffee and he's like, cool, Basil, this coffee tastes like crap. And Basil and them, everybody looks at him, and Basil's like, Austin, it is crap. And then Austin's like, oh good, it's not just me. So he drinks it, and it's like all gross, and he's got like this poop mustache, and he's like, it's a bit nutty, and it's like, just even recapping that right now is just, it's gross. And you also go back to Dr. Evil at this point, to where Scott and Dr. Evil are like, I guess, trying to patch things up, and nothing's working, and he's also trying to explain his plan, to where he's going to put a giant laser on the moon and threaten the president of the United States. And he comes up with this weird plan for it all, to where he is calling the laser project the Alan Parsons Project, which Scott points out that that's a rock band from 1982, and mentions other references like Bananarama and stuff in hilarious fashion. And then Dr. Evil then mentions how he turned the moon into his own personal Death Star, and then which gets Scott to laugh and say, oh, nothing, Darth. You're a ripoff, and once again making the subtle jokes. And Dr. Evil doesn't completely understand it, and he isn't getting it, so they keep continuing and all that good stuff. But to the point when it moves on, you have Felicity and Austin Powers basically infiltrate the island through swimming there through wetsuits. And as they're getting undressed in their wetsuits, they're having a nice homage to the scene in You Only Live Twice, and also from Dr. No, to where they're in that hunting bathing suit. You have Felicity in it, and then you have Austin in it, and then they both look at each other and they're like, huh, what? And it's like just a weird little funny thing. And you then cut to the part to where you have Dr. Evil threatening the president of the United States with the laser, and the president and his cabinet all laugh at him, and they're hilariously played by, because they got two people, well, they got one person to return. Charles Napier, who I believe is still Commander Gilmore, returned for this movie, which that was a nice little cameo for him. And you had Tim Robbins as the president, and a really good cameo for him as well, where he was like all funny and good stuff. And what happens is they don't believe that Dr. Evil will destroy the world with the laser, and they're mocking him. And then Dr. Evil's also saying, I want $100 million, and then they laugh hysterically again too, because they know in 1969 that amount of money doesn't exist. But Dr. Evil wants it anyway, so he decides to demonstrate the power of the Alan Parsons Project by showing a scene from Independence Day, to where the White House gets destroyed. They all freak out and get all crazy, and then he tells them it's a movie. And they're trying to negotiate with Dr. Evil, and then Dr. Evil starts going, show me the money, show me the money, everything had a little tear, pay me the money, no, nothing. And then Scott Evil's like, Jerry Maguire doesn't come out for another 30 years. Nobody knows what you're talking about. And Dr. Evil ignores him, tells him to use his big boy voice. And then the president's still trying to bargain with him, and Dr. Evil's like, talk to the hand because the face don't want to hear it anymore. And then the president's like, talk to your hand? You're not all that in a bag of potato chips. Potato chips. And it confuses the president even more, and he's like, don't go there, girlfriend. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And it's got the president really confused, and then Dr. Evil ends it with a, don't mess with me, I'm one crazy mofo. I had to pop a cop because he wouldn't give me my crops in Oaktown. I heard that somewhere. And, like, the president's still confused, and you have Scott leaning in, and he goes, you're an idiot. Just like flat out just tells him. And, there's all that great stuff. And we cut back to Felicity and Austin, who are spying on Dr. Evil. And what happens is while they're spying on him, they're trying to get the explosives ready, so they're in the tent, and their shadows are in the tent, and you have men actually converging, Dr. Evil's men converging on Felicity and Austin. But then there's this great scene where they have shadow play trying to look for the explosives, and there's like psych eggs, like smoke bombs coming out of the bag, but they think Austin's farting, there was a gerbil and like a rat in there and all these different things and like an umbrella and like there's all these different great shadow force plays that are really hilarious and well done. But then what happens is as soon as Felicity finds the explosives, you then have the men surround Austin and her. They get captured, and brought before Dr. Evil, where Dr. Evil shows Austin that he has his mojo, and like he starts mocking him and getting him really bad, and basically Dr. Evil lets it slip that Fat Bastard and Felicity already met, and like Felicity had to infiltrate Fat Bastard to have sex with him, and Austin didn't want to believe it, but Felicity's like, I did what I had to do, I'm a secret agent. And Fat Bastard's mocking him. Dr. Evil wants him to stop though, and Austin's like distraught, and what happens is Dr. Evil leaves Austin Powers and Felicity alone again to basically be left with an empty guard that would easily allow them to escape. And when they're there, they're having a quick combo of how Felicity could have sex with Fat Bastard and how she could do it because he's so fat. The sheer mechanics of it are mind-boggling, and they like have an argument. But after the argument, they basically get their composure back together. Austin tries to get there, and then he comes up with this elaborate plan, saying, I could pretend to be desperately ill with food poisoning. I can lean over, pretend to be sick, and then, you make a hole out of punji sticks and sharpened toothbrushes, putting them in the middle, we have the guard come in, guard steps on it all, falls through there, hits the lava on the ground, and, he burns up, and, they escape. And Felicity's like, well, that's cool, but let me do something quicker. So she goes to the guard and she opens up her bra with the quasi-futuristic clothes that they're wearing again, ironically enough. And she's like, what do you think of these, my man? The guard goes, Mommy! And steps in and just falls right in. No problem at all into the lava. Which then starts a bunch of the hot jokes, I guess that was a burn. I guess she was hot for you. And all that great stuff. And then, by that point, you have Dr. Evil blasting off into space to go fire his laser on, his Dust Star on the moon. And what ends up happening is Austin and Felicity follow Dr. Evil there on a rocket, which once again is met with another cameo by Fred Willard, who's the mission control agent guy. And as they're blasting off, they land on the moon. They're trying to infiltrate his base. And what ends up going on after that is Dr. Evil talks to the president, says, you better have the money and, better have it ready to go. And, the president says he does have it, but he can't believe they're paying Dr. Evil. And he's like, I got nukes up the yin yang, just let me launch one. And then Commander Gilmore grabs his arm and he's like, sir, are you suggesting we blow up the moon? And he's like crazily looking around his cabinet table saying, would you miss it? Would you miss it? And it's like, it's sort of like a hilarious thing. Just seeing Tim Robbins go that nuts because he doesn't want to pay Dr. Evil the money. And what happens is Felicity goes on ahead to try to get into the main control room to stop the laser. Austin thinks he sees Dr. Evil, takes a shot, believes he takes down Dr. Evil, and then it's actually Mini-Me. And Mini-Me and Austin Powers get into this hilarious fight where Mini-Me's biting Austin. Austin's throwing him around. It's an obvious dummy and just hilarious antics and trades and just, great stuff. And then at one point, Mini-Me gets into Austin's suit. Austin traps him near the buttock region. He goes into a toilet, takes some time like he's trying to poop him out, flushes it, and then Mini-Me goes out into space. Doesn't die, but goes out into space and apparently survives. And you have Austin who actually gets to Dr. Evil. Dr. Evil's all smug. He's not worried about anything. And what happens is you have Felicity. She's in a cell sort of thing that releases some poisonous gas that's trying to kill her. So Austin has to make a choice. And so Austin goes, takes out Falforbissina, who somehow got to the moon to fire the laser, and takes out her first, and the laser target misses Washington, D.C., and then he tries to save Felicity. He doesn't open the case that she's in or anything, so she's dead to the poison, and she died, and then all of a sudden he looks back. Dr. Evil already took off, and he's like, I'm going to get you, Dr. Evil. Has him right where he wants him, and is about to kill him, but then Dr. Evil says, oh, would you rather kill me instead of saving your precious Felicity? That's a time machine in there. And he actually convinces Austin Powers to spare his life, to go back to use a time machine to save Felicity. And then as soon as he goes back, you see the Austin who's already there, and then the Austin who just traveled through time. And then they're both talking to each other, and they're saying how sexy they are and how virile they are. And Dr. Evil's like, all right, this is goddamn ridiculous. Kill them both. And, they basically take out all the guards together, and they basically get Dr. Evil to say fire the laser. And what happens is you have one Austin go take out Frau, and then you have the other Austin save Felicity, which by that point, that Austin Powers just punches the glass and breaks the glass after she had already been fading from the gas. And it's like, well, if you could do that, why didn't you do that at the first time? It's like, okie dokie. And what happens is as soon as that happens, you have Dr. Evil threatening to basically do something with Austin Powers' mojo. So he tosses it in the air, tosses it all the way up to where it crashes down on the ground in a hilarious slow motion antic. And the mojo's broken. Austin Powers is distraught. Dr. Evil hits the self-destruct button, and the base is getting ready to explode. Austin Powers is trying to get whatever he can with his mojo, which there's nothing doing. And Felicity goes, Austin, we need to get out of here. And Austin's like, no, my mojo, I'm useless without it. And she's like, you've had it all along. You're going to get me, you're going to get everything. What's going on? And so what happens is Austin sets it for 1999, but then Felicity's like, well, no, I want to see what happens in the 70s and 80s. And Austin's like, the 70s and 80s, nothing's much there. I looked into it. There's a gas shortage and a flock of seagulls. That's about it. So then they end up going back to the 90s, and they save the world from Dr. Evil again, and they're basically together with each other. And then all of a sudden, somebody says there's a special delivery, and Fat Bastard comes in looking like a UPS guy, takes out a gun, is ready to kill them, and then Felicity asks Fat Bastard if he's happy, and then Fat Bastard goes, "Of course I'm not happy. I'm irritated. I'm unhealthy. I haven't seen my Willie in 2 years, which is long enough to declare legally dead. I have more chins than a Chinese phone book, and it's like all those hilarious jokes." And then, it seems like Felicity got through to Fat Bastard, but the Fat Bastard's like, "Oh, what the hell? I'm going to kill you anyway." And she just kicks him in the crotch. He goes down. And Austin Powers like, "Listen, baby, I don't care if he is a fat bastard. You don't give a man a shot in his pills. You just not cricket." And, you know, after that, they basically go, Felicity hits a button on the side wall, and it's like party time in Austin's pad. And then you go back to the mission control area where you have Basil Exposition say, "Did we get Dr. Evil?" And you have Quinn Howard back in his cameo, which I forgot to mention this from earlier when they take off from space, but Dr. Evil's ship looks like a penis with two balls, because that was sort of the joke in You Only Live Twice, is that the ship was very phallic looking, so they were continuing on that joke. And what they do is they go through every joke and name that you could call a penis, and it's actually like hilarious. It's great stuff. It's probably one of the best moments in the entire film. And they go through everything, and there's like a whole bunch of other cameos. You have Woody, Willie Nelson, Woody Harrelson, and just like a few people like that. And it's really just a funny joke. And all of a sudden you have Dr. Evil save Mini-Me, and Dr. Evil's giving Mini-Me a tetanus shot or a flu shot because he was out in the coldness of space, even though rightfully he should be dead. But then you have both of them laughing into the camera saying they're going to get Austin Powers. So that is basically Austin Powers' Spy Who Shagged Me. It is a good film. I still like the first film a lot better. I mean, as you can tell by some of the jokes I was explaining from the review, is that Austin Powers' Spy Who Shagged Me is a very, very raunchy film. I mean, well, I shouldn't say very raunchy, but they did end up raising the raunchiness levels, which sort of makes it a little bit more childish, not as clever humor as the first one. There were better Bond gags in the first one. I mean, there were great ones in this one too. The ship that looked like a penis, the making fun of Goldfinger, the like Flint thing, and like all that stuff. It's all well and good, and you have you just have all that good stuff going on. But at the same time, it's like the movie, lacked its original magic. And when you lose that magic, you don't have what you had there at first. It's like it's all that different type of stuff. And it did dig its heels like Austin Powers Goldmember. But I don't own that one, because that one to me was the worst in the series. It has its moments, but it's not as good as the first two. But I have to say, because of the overuse of some of the raunchiness levels in this movie, and because it just didn't seem as funny right away as the first. I mean, I used to like this one better than the first, but I think that was mostly because of the penis ship joke and things like that. But other than that, Austin Powers' Spy Who Shagged Me is still a good movie, and I would recommend it. I would probably give it another 8 out of 10. Maybe even if I had to do one less, 7 out of 10, but 8 or 7 out of 10. So, still a good movie, still enjoyable. And I would say if you guys like Austin Powers, pick it up today and let me know, or pick it up today or see it and let me know what you think in the comment section below and everything. And how'd you guys like me going through the whole film? If you want me to do where I just give you a synopsis without giving away too much of the film, let me know. But yeah, I will give you full-on movie reviews from now on. So sorry if this review was like an hour, but that's somewhat what you do when you do these movie reviews. Well then, alrighty guys, this is all went to Boku. I will talk to you later, alright? See you then.